Grocery stores are redlining just like the banks did back in the day, or still today, depending on where you look. But I don't see a lot of people pointing it out. And I'm going to give you a prime example of a grocery store here in Texas that everybody seems to love, but they only seem to love certain areas of the community, despite them claiming to be for everyone. And I'm sure in your city, there's an example exactly like this you can point out as well. So I'm going to talk about how this affects the entire ecosystem from home prices to taxes to schools to businesses to jobs and why this is a very, very vital issue. And of course, companies can move wherever they want. But let me read you something from this company's website. Be the change. Company pledges to do our part to advance education, equity, and inclusion by being a better employer, retailer, and community partner. Well, I guess only some parts of the community. Let's get into it. Welcome back to House Rich, the first time homebuyer show where we provide you actionable steps in layman's terms to buy your first home. If this is your first time hearing my voice, my name is David. My background is in mortgage as a loan officer, as an underwriter, and as a realtor. I purchased multiple homes, but most importantly, I've helped people like you buy homes in real life. Hundreds of people in real life, not just on TV. Today, we're talking about grocery stores and redlining. You may have seen this recent quote from Kevin Hart. Let me read it. I'm not going to do an impersonation. Sorry. If you look in the hood, there's liquor stores and check cashing places. You know why? Because they know the people in the hood aren't smart enough to open up banking accounts. They're going to get a check and cash it. Let's just put that around them. Let's put a bunch of explicitive crap or whatever word you think crap is, that is a cuss word. Now, a lot of folks heard this quote and they focused on people in the hood aren't smart enough to open up bank accounts. From my POV, he was just talking about, like in third person, what these companies may think of the people in that area. To me, Kevin Hart, I don't know the man. He's done a lot for communities from my point of view, as far as time and money. So he's putting his money and time where his mouth is. I don't know. What are you doing for your local community before you diss Kevin Hart? But let's talk about the stuff or lack thereof of stuff in some of these local communities. I'll give you my example of me moving to Dallas, being an outsider of the area. I moved to Dallas 10 years ago. And I first settled in the area called Terrell, Texas, which is like 30 minutes east of Dallas. Not even a suburb, but just kind of like it's kind of like nowhere. It was cheap. I'm a cheap guy. I'm like, if I'm going to rent a place, I'm not going to spend a lot of money to rent. A year later, I moved into Dallas. And then a year after that, I purchased a place because I became familiar with the area. And then a year after that, I met my fiance. If you know anything about me, I don't do a bunch of moving around. Like I only stay within 5 to 10 minutes of where I live at. Obviously, I go to work as well. And I pointed out to say is I didn't really know the lay of the land in the Dallas market. And so when my wife and I went to look for properties, we looked all over Dallas because we didn't know what place was we'd like or wouldn't like in Dallas. So we looked at north, south, east, west Dallas. And one thing that stood out to us when we looked at the southern part of Dallas, there were some nice neighborhoods, nice big homes, yards, communities, but there was a definite lack of stuff, resources, grocery stores, entertainment, etc. So it's like, okay, this is a cool neighborhood, but I got to drive like 20, 30 minutes to do some entertainment. Like, that's not something I want to do. There weren't a lot of jobs around there either. I'm not talking about like your hourly jobs. I'm talking like high paying salary jobs, meaning that I can't really even live or work in the area that I want to live in. And so we looked around and made the decision to move to the northern part of Dallas because they had everything. They had the food, the restaurants, the better school districts, the entertainment, like the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not even a Cowboys fan, but they're moving their practice facility up in that area. The PGA of North America eventually moved their headquarters there. As you may have seen in the news, Universal Studios is moving a theme park to that area of Dallas. So all the resources and everything went up to the northern part of Dallas. And we'll talk about the pros and cons of that, and once again, how that affects the entire like ecosystem of the economy around the area. Food deserts is really the focus of this episode because we talk about lack of resources. One of those resources that is lacking in those areas is food. What's a food desert? It's an urban area in which it's difficult to buy affordable or good quality fresh food. Many poor people live in food deserts where they have plenty of food, but none of it healthy. And you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So you've been to, I hate calling it the hood, but you've been to certain areas where it's like there's always a McDonald's, there's always a Burger King, there's a dollar store, Dollar General. Maybe if it's a nicer part of the area, there's even like a Chick-fil-A. But there's very rarely a grocery store. There are places that are like quarter marts. You may see like 7-Elevens, and some of those will have like groceries and fresh produce. But here's the thing: it's like either there's food that's cheap and unhealthy, or the healthy food is even more expensive than it is in other parts of the area. Because if 7-Eleven is getting like apples and oranges and stuff like that, they got to open up a whole nother area and put spaces aside to stock that stuff. So they're going to just jack up the prices. And of course, stuff is more expensive in like your 7-Elevens and convenience stores already. So that's the predicament a lot of folks face in these areas. So I'm going to lay out the Texas landscape for you all that are unfamiliar. So there is San Antonio. There is what's called like the Texas Triangle. You got Austin. You got Houston, which are both south of Dallas. And then Dallas is like the point at the top of that triangle. And so let's say hypothetically, there was a grocery store that was something all Texans love. Like I've never heard somebody talk so favorably about a grocery store ever in my life. Like where I'm from, like grocery stores are just grocery stores. Like the closest one is fine. But folks hype up this grocery store, right? And so they have locations in San Antonio, Houston, and Austin, and they are moving to the Dallas market. I think I saw that news as far back as like 2017, 2018. Make note of that time frame as we go through the rest of this story. All right, 7 years ago, the city of Dallas tried to eliminate some of these food deserts by offering money, millions of dollars for somebody, anybody to move or put a grocery store in South Dallas. Here is the request from 2016, 7 years ago. The city of Dallas is pleased to announce the availability of funding up to $3 million to assist development and or location of one or more high quality grocery stores of at least 25,000 square feet within or adjacent of a southern Dallas food desert. By the way, as you'll see later in this story, 3 million was just the starting point. So you think, man, if a company was probably moving to Dallas already, like it seems like kind of like free money in a market where there's demand for food. Seems kind of like a layup. Introducing every Texan's favorite grocery store, HEB. Let's read some quotes from their website. We've grown from a store to so much more, proudly serving Texas since 1905. Heart. People matter. Here, people are the heart of every decision made and everything we do. No store cares more. Our commitment. Over 115 years ago, we opened our doors to make the lives of hard-working Texans better. We were a family business back then. We've remained a family business today with a passion and commitment to help every community we serve. As you heard in the intro, HEB, be the change. HEB pledges to do our part to advance, educate, equity, inclusion by being a better employer, retailer, and community partner. And last but not least, let's talk about food and hunger relief. Hunger relief. HEB is fighting hunger in our communities through initiatives like HEB Food Bank Assistance Program and the annual Feast of Holiday Dinners. What better to help hunger relief in an area than put one of your grocery stores in that area? All the dinners all the late night meals, the food banks, nothing can beat you putting an actual grocery store in the community. And Dallas is offering $3 million. This has got to be a layup for you guys, HEB. Let's check this out. Oh, by the way, HEB's Dallas Fort Worth expansion is 30 years in the making. This article is from 2021. As I mentioned, this news was around probably back as far as 2017, 18, because I remember hearing about this well before COVID. Now, let's check out the Dallas landscape. And just that circle right there, I just happened to make it red. Maybe subconsciously, I was thinking about redlining, but I just thought red stood out, which is why I made that area red. So this circle, which is about a area 20, about 5 miles south of Dallas, and then for like the next 20 miles is this food desert where there's no grocery stores in the Dallas area. So once again, if you're thinking about a company that's coming from down south up north, it seems like it will make a lot of sense to put your grocery store right in that area. There's even a major highway going right through it. So let's see what has happened to today. What month is it? September 2023, and where things stand. All right, here we are, present day HEB's Dallas launch. So what they did was they came up north. They dropped a location off in Rice, about 50 minutes south of Dallas. They dropped a location off in Waxahachie, about 30 to 40 miles south of Dallas. They even put some locations over in Fort Worth, which is about 30 minutes, 45 minutes west of Dallas. But Dallas, they just completely jumped over the Dallas market. There's a star on this map. That is a warehousing location, not an actual store. But yeah, they completely jumped over the entire food desert or southern Dallas market. Huh, it's weird. It's almost like no one lives there, or it's like an actual desert or a forest. No, there are tens of thousands of people that live there that want a grocery store. And they just like, hey, we're jumping over Dallas. They did have some other stores under another name in a little bit further north, like the northern part of the city of Dallas, which was already accounted for in that 2016 requisition for a grocery store. So they did have some locations in Dallas. Those are not, then there's still a food desert with those stores north of Dallas. But then they jumped into the suburbs, like 25, 35 minutes north of Dallas. Kind of crazy, right? They just ignored that area completely. A little green line around this area. And even if you go up further, there's even areas further up north that they're building grocery stores right now where really nobody even really lives up there yet. It's kind of wild the way they just jumped over the Dallas market. Totally, and just like, hey, we're going to ignore this demographic of people. Now imagine if like a bank did this. Like people would be like, what in the world? That's clear discrimination. But it's a grocery store, something, food that everyone needs, but no one really seems to care. I think I saw like one article on this topic. I'm a realtor in Dallas and would love to help you reach your goals of home ownership. So click the link in the description and just schedule a call no matter where you are on your journey. Not in Dallas? No worries, I can help connect you with a vetted realtor in your local jurisdiction as well. And feel free to share with friends, family, and foes. Everyone gets love. Finally, April 12th, 2023. Dallas lures Tom Thumb to food desert. So almost 7 years and $5.8 million later, there is a grocery store coming to the food desert in Dallas. Now, why are food deserts so bad? Outside of the obvious, people should have access to like nutritional food, but let's talk about some of the symptoms. And so I did the word wall here, but I want to give credit to esperanca.org as far as where I got this information from. So first and foremost, nutrition, right? It plays a key role in developing chronic diseases, heart disease, strokes, diabetes. If you're eating a bunch of like crap, high fructose corn syrup, and all this nonsense, you're more likely to develop high blood pressure diseases and stuff that impact your health. You know, they say health is wealth as well. They impact your it costs money to go to the doctors and things of that nature, which people typically in lower income communities may not have the best health care as well. We'll talk about this cycle in a second. Obviously, obesity is a big thing as well. And obesity is like hereditary. So, like if your parents are overweight, you're more likely to be overweight from a genetic standpoint and from just a habits standpoint as well. So it just exacerbates itself. It's like, okay, your parent is overweight, you have the propensity to be overweight, and also you're in a place where there's food that leads you to being overweight. We talk about malnutrition and malnourishment, which impacts healthcare. You know, women are more like prone to miscarriage, miscarriages, and birth defects if they're malnutrition. And of course, finally, people in food deserts with food allergies or sensitivities may find it difficult to find safe food to eat. If you got the gluten intolerance, if you got the peanut intolerance, like you're down bad when it comes to finding gluten-free food, for instance. So there are a bunch of just health issues on top of the normal economic issues, which we're getting to now. So let's talk about the cycle. In an area where homes are worth more or valued more, sometimes like home prices are just picked out of nowhere. I'll give you an example that I can give for this whole cycle. There is a neighborhood all the way up north where those HEBs are called Prosper. It's a very new area. They really just started building it out as far as communities, maybe like, I don't know, like 7 to 10 years ago. But these homes were just deemed to be worth like $500,000, $1 million, even though they're just like in the middle of nowhere. Actually, Dion had some land up there that Jerry Jones gave him. He has this huge mansion up there as well. But it's like it's kind of wild because it's this huge mansion in the middle of a neighborhood that doesn't match at all. He doesn't live there anymore, but that's another story for another day. But the more expensive the homes are, the more tax revenue is generated from those homes because tax revenue is just a percentage of the value of the home. Therefore, there's more tax revenue. That results in more tax revenue toward schools, more money for the schools, more resources. And I hate to say better teachers, but teachers that have more options are going to those areas. And also there's more resources for the community. So there's this high school in Prosper, Texas. I saw an article like a month, well, not even a month ago, a few weeks back, that they are proposing a bond for a second like $90 million stadium in Prosper. This stadium is like better than a lot of HBCUs, junior colleges. Like this is a crazy stadium they already have. They're proposing another stadium for a school that's not even built yet. And also with the schools, the teachers with more options typically have better connections to help folks get into better colleges. They're better programs like your AP, IB programs would help you apply to college. And once again, better connections to those colleges as well. So what happens, people have better chances to go to, I hate to use the word better, but you know what I'm saying when I say like better schools. And then they get better high paying jobs. And therefore, these areas are attractive. And so businesses are like, okay, we're going to move our business, we're going to move our headquarters to these areas because there's high net worth people, they're highly educated people, and they're looking for these big jobs. That's why a lot of corporations and companies are moving to the northern portion of Dallas. Like JP Morgan moved their North American headquarters. Like I said, the Cowboys moved their practice facility. Not that you need to be a brainiac to be a Dallas Cowboy. State Farm is there. There's another Fortune 500 company that slips my mind at the time, but there are bunch of Fortune 500 companies moving to the area. So businesses are moving there and jobs, which makes the area more attractive. Now that the area is more attractive, it increases the demand for people wanting to move into that area. And the demand increasing means that home prices increase. When home prices increase, the tax revenue increases. You see where I'm going with this. That's how the cycle works. And the cycle works the exact same way, but the opposite direction when in the lower income neighborhood. So something to just think about. And so I sit back and I'm like, hey, I mean, and you guys can let me know too, like, what is the solution to this issue? Is it an issue to begin with? Should the free market just do what the free market does? I mean, there corporation or the city is literally throwing money at corporations to move to certain areas of Dallas, but folks won't move there. Next week, I actually got an episode dropping with two Black appraisers talking about some of these issues when it comes to people moving to areas and the value and home prices in an area. Like I looked up this stat that said that white folks that move to these neighborhoods and buy new homes, not so they get so if you're a Black person and moves to a predominantly Black neighborhood, but you buy one of these fancy new gentrification type homes, your home is typically valued less than a white person that does the exact same thing. So just look at that as well. And that's just, equity as well that folks are losing just to like the color of their skin. And I waited to the end to actually say, technically, I guess I haven't said it, to point out like what demographic is in that area, but I'm pretty sure you had an idea the demographic that's being ignored by HEB and other companies. And once again, this is not just about HEB. Anybody could have moved there in the last 7 years or previously, but it's a issue, a systemic issue with a lot of companies just ignoring communities because of their money and the bottom line, which companies are allowed to do, but don't fake like you're for the community if you're not really for the community. That is all. Buy land. Rumor has it, you're not making any more.